crazy bit.
What are you wearing?
When you think of France,
This is offensive.
what comes to mind? Is it berets? No. Baguette? No. What about the French fries? No. Oh, Julia Child. Okay, maybe some of those things, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Definitely not steak. That doesn't come to mind.
Okay, today in our Grilling Around the Globe series presented by the Minnesota Beef Council, we're going to try not to continue to offend the entire nation of France.
Just that.
We're learning how to give the good old tenderloin a French twist. So here to explain, we welcome the owner of FACES Mears Park in St. Paul, our good friend David Fhima, back to Twin Cities Live. David, it's so nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry. You know, David is part French,
I
and you
understand.
might have offended his heritage.
And here I am with all of, what do you think?
I think you should stick to the original show.
You know what I should have said? Bonjour, je m'appelle Etienne.
Au plaisir.
Oh, that's very, very nice. Okay, David, let's talk steak.
Yes.
And when it comes to the French way, we're thinking like refined, elegant. Grilling, not necessarily something that the French are typically doing.
Sure, but everybody does grilling.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when you talk of cuisines, and that you're talking Asian, that you're talking Italian, that you're talking French, meat is meat, but flavors are that's where. So we're doing a little bit of a Provençal twist to the all-American grilling,
I
which
like
is taking
that.
a great cut of meat and giving it some herbs. And meats of high quality don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, a little few things in terms of techniques, but you let the meat speak for itself, and the meat has a lot to say.
Okay, so as we talk about prepping and seasoning
Yeah.
the meat, you've got a trick. When should we be taking the meat out of the fridge and letting it rest for how long before we put it on that grill?
Well, depending on the size of your meat, but usually we brought whole loins, whole primes, and whole strips, so you can see the size of it.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do a big loin, which you can do on your grill if you wanted to, if you want to do individual portions, but as a rule of thumb, around 5 to 10 minutes per pound, you want to
Okay.
get it out so it reaches room temperature. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want the meat to be warm enough so when you put it on the grill, it cooks faster, which means because the grill, as much as friendly as it is to the meat, it's also its enemy, because a lot of that flavor, unlike sauteing in a pan, which is traditionally how French do it, on the grill, a lot of that flavor goes through the grill and it gets lost. So
Oh, yeah.
if you have it at a high temperature enough where you're grilling it, so it grills pretty quickly, so the flavor stays within the
You're
meat.
good to go. Okay, so what are we going to season with? How are we going to get this
So
going?
I'm doing some really very, very, very simple olive oil, which is probably the only time you want to cook with olive oil and warm. It's on the grill because it doesn't get the toxic level.
Doesn't have enough time.
Yeah. Sage, black pepper, rosemary, oregano, marjoram, garlic, and you see this sea salt right here. You see,
Yeah.
if you touch it.
Okay.
You know, you gotta touch the food.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know, it's
Tactile
anything that you
experience.
love a lot, you need to touch it.
Hey, buddy. All right.
Well, it's a French show, I was told.
Very true.
And so you basically and you make a rub, and you know you
but
introduce.
it's a rub with the olive oil.
It's a rub with olive oil, so that olive oil is really never going to have a chance to heat up too much.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that flavor to it, and you mix up all the spices.
I'm
Thank
gonna help.
you.
Yeah.
Please, please.
Okay, and this is what we put on the steak.
This is what we're going to put on the steak. Yes.
Oh,
and
God.
and quickly, sort of, while you mix it, I'm gonna get.
I'll mix.
I'm gonna get. Here you go.
Yeah,
you
but
have-
you got some
you
meat
heading
on the
over to the
grill.
grill?
Yeah, I'm gonna head out to the grill
Go ahead.
and bring a couple of these cuts of meat.
Yes, wonderful. I like that he
great.
says he brought whole loins, all just whole
Oh
slabs
my
of
gosh,
meat.
So
David,
this-
are you kidding me?
This
So you
is
put
a New
that
York
on there?
strip.
Oh,
See
yeah.
how beautiful that is?
Oh,
It
look at
creates a
that.
crust which allows the flavors to stay intact.
How far ahead of putting it on the grill do you need to put this kind of olive oil rub
The
on there?
longer the better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
All
longer
right.
the better.
Good. And then you're putting it on the grill. Are you getting that thing pretty hot?
So that's a great question. I have the grill at two different temperatures. I have it on one area really, really hot.
Yeah.
And on the second area as warm but not hot. So what I'm trying to do is sear as hot as I can, because when you sear, you create a crust, and that crust does not allow the juices to come out.
And this is like the perfect crust.
And this is the perfect crust. So you want to sear it really, as we have done in here, and I'm
Maybe
going to get
move it over
gosh.
to the warm section.
and then you warm it, move it to the warm section to cook it at the temperature that you want to cook it at.
Look
so,
at it.
so this is, it's really very simple.
See, this is what he does. He shows
You
you
know-
the finished one before he even does this one to make you want to make it even more.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there is nothing better and healthier than to eat and cook this way, and
Yeah.
because it really gives the food, and so you want to have it this way. And here's the trick, though: we're going to put it on the grill with the unseasoned side down first, because what's going to happen, the heat is going to dry the rub into the meat. So when we turn it the other way, it doesn't fall out.
thought
See
of it
how
the
it
other way.
stays?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
This is
But
so
that's why you
cool.
have me on the show.
That
I
is
know.
it. Hey, also, I want to ask you about wine pairings. I think steak, and of course, I'm thinking, give me a big, robust red.
Oh,
And
such
you're
a
not
big bottle.
wrong. And you're not wrong.
But you say for the summer, a rosé goes really well with
Oh
some
my
red meat.
gosh! I mean, you know, I'm a firm believer that you eat and drink based on what the bounty of nature gives
Yeah.
you.
He's
I'm sorry,
I
he's
was-
like,
yeah.
slice it, pour the
So-
wine, what's happening?
So yeah,
Oh.
so this is cooked to a nice little medium rare.
This is beautiful.
Wonderful.
You know,
That's as God intended.
You know,
Oh gosh.
and this is a tenderloin.
Yep.
And so what you're trying right now is the New York. We're going to try the all cuts of meat. We're going to try to prime.
Yeah.
And regardless of the cut of meat
Okay.
that you're eating and what is it that you're eating,
Bubba.
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because the flavors are seared. So this is a nice rosé that has a lot of that ardent,
outstanding.
really wonderful flavors, and always pair based on the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on the protein. A lot of herbs and spices, they're light. You want something that's going to be
Oh
light.
my gosh, it's so delicious. You got to check out FACES Mears Park because this is the kind of love that David always puts into the food. We've had some really wonderful family celebrations at FACES with you, David. And is there anything new that you're like really obsessing over at the restaurant? What are you loving?
I love working with clean, local ingredients.
Yeah, that's your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happening
Wonderful.
with this rosé? Are we
I don't
pouring
know,
it
are
or
you
what's
pouring
going
it?
on?
Oh, sorry,
We don't
sorry,
have
sorry.
a separate
All right, we
You
do
know,
have
we'll
a
do housekeeping.
recipe.
I want you to invite me back.
I love it. We always will. We have recipes and links to follow David's food adventures and FACES Mears Park on social media. Head to TwinCitiesLive.com. Tomorrow, our 12 days of grilling around the globe presented by the Minnesota Beef Council is taking us to a St. Paul restaurant that's specializing in Russian food.
Oh,
this
wonderful.
That is so good.
It's outstanding.
Oh, boy.
We want you to get in on all this grilling action. You can check out the Minnesota Beef Council website for more grilling tips and tricks. They're also going to be out at the State Fair this year, too. They will be in the Dairy Building. Big thanks to the Minnesota Beef Council for helping sponsor this show and for bringing us 12 days of glorious grilling.
It's a wonderful thing.
All right, after the break, we're going to show